What's going on, everybody? I hope you're having a fantastic Tuesday afternoon. This is MYG Jeffy T 85 here. And it's been a couple of days since the New York Giants game against the Washington Commanders, where we all know the Giants they just couldn't put anything together in terms of a competent offensive drives. They kept shooting themselves in the foot, and we all ended up with what happened. The Giants ended up having a tie against the Washington Commanders at MetLife Stadium, 20-20. Now the Giants are sitting at 7-4-1 on the season. The Washington Commanders are 7-5-1. The Seattle Seahawks are 7-5. So the last three spots right now in the NFC playoff picture are the Giants are right now, I believe, in sixth place. I think the Giants are still in fifth place overall. Or sixth place. I was right. Sixth place. Washington, I believe, is now in in eighth place because Seattle jumped them because of the fact that Washington did have that tie. So Seattle has jumped Washington right now in the seventh spot. Washington right now is out of the playoff picture. They're going into their bye week. Giants have to take on the Philadelphia Eagles at MetLife Stadium. I'll get into that in a little bit. And the Seattle Seahawks, I believe, take on the Carolina Panthers. After just thinking about what happened on Sunday, it's still aggravating. This is the first game this year where the Giants actually legit aggravated me this season. Because of the fact I was not going into the season with a lot of expectations. I was expecting the Giants to just go out there, show they can rebuild, put together a foundation to this team, put out some good football, some strong-willed, some overall tough-willed football to make us believe that this team is going in the right direction. But when the team got off to a strong 7-2 start, realistically, expectations started to change. And we started to believe that this team could be a potential playoff team, as they are still right now. But the last three games have really started to show the major weaknesses of this football team. The interior offensive line is porous. No matter who you put out there right now, the interior offensive line is not good. Gates, he's still coming back from a serious injury last year, and he had to play left guard because Bredesen, and Lemieux were all out. So Feliciano went back at center, and Gates played at left guard, and you had Glowinski at right guard. You still had Evan Neal and Andrew Thomas. I'm not worried about my offensive tackles. Andrew Thomas and Evan Neal are fine with me. The interior of the offensive line, no matter who you put in there right now, scares the hell out of me. I think Glowinski is starting to show he doesn't have the length, he doesn't have that strength in the interior to be able to handle bigger defensive tackles like the Giants had to face against Daron Payne and Jonathan Allen. They outmuscled Glowinski easily in the inside. Same thing with Feliciano. And Gates, he's not a guard. Gates can play guard, but he's more of a natural center. Even though he can play every single position, I think he's a better center than he is a guard. And it showed, because he got exposed a little bit at playing in the guard position too. But the Giants' interior offensive line is just becoming a major problem. Run blocking, they're not bad. Run blocking, Feliciano, Glowinski, and then Gates, Lemieux, Azudu, Bredesen, they all do a solid job run blocking. It's the pass protection that's the major problem. Every single one of those guys struggle when it comes to their pass protection in the interior. That's the thing that worries me. Especially now that you're going into a game against Philadelphia when you have people like Javon Hargrave, Fletcher Cox, you have Jordan Davis, you have Milton Williams, Linval Joseph, and Ndamukong Suh in the interior of that Eagles defensive line. I don't know who's going to be playing at the guard position this week. Bredesen is expected to be back soon. Hopefully Azudu can make it back. I don't know about Lemieux. I would put Feliciano on the bench, move Gates back to center, and go with it. That's a big concern for me. The wide receiver position, what else can we say? The wide receiver position, Isaiah Hodgins, he's a guy that maybe you could bring back next year as a reserve wide receiver. He's done enough to warrant coming back in 2023 as a guy that can compete for a wide receiver spot on the roster. middle, or back end of the depth chart. Darius Slayton has played great football, but he's also getting exposed because he's not a number one wide receiver. Case in point, he's made some spectacular plays in the season, and he's made some boneheaded plays. You can pretty much watch the Washington Redskins game, Commanders, whatever the hell you want to call them. He made a brilliant downfield catch early on in the game, and then he dropped a wide open catch in overtime. That was not Daniel Jones' fault. Jones wasn't perfect, just getting to him shortly, because we all want to talk about Daniel Jones. Jones made a perfect throw to Slayton. He got his hands on it, and Slayton just flat out dropped the football in the middle of the field. He's not a number one wide receiver. I'd even argue he's not even a number two. I think he's a very good number three. But this wide receiver core is getting exposed without Sterling Shepard, without Wan'Dale Robinson, Kenny Golladay being useless, Tony's not on the team. Slayton is the only guy on that outside that presents a somewhat of a threat at that wide receiver position. Thank God we got Daniel Bellinger back, because he helped out not only in the run game, but in the pass protection too, and as well as being a pass receiver in the game. The tackling on defense was abysmal. How many missed tackles did the Giants have in this game? Whether it was Fabian Moreau whiffing on a tackle on the outside when Terry McLaurin walked in for a touchdown, or all the way later on in the game when both Zion Gilbert and Nick McLeod whiffed on a tackle, McLeod trying to shoulder a player on the outside, and Jahan Dotson spins away and runs in for a touchdown. The tackling in this game was horrific. Besides the safeties, who played solid during this game, the cornerbacks, they didn't cover bad, but their tackling was horrendous. The inside linebacker position is a serious problem with this team. As everybody said, shout out to my guy BigBlue in the Bronx. He talked about it earlier in his video. The inside linebacker position, I believe, like he said, and like others have said, is just devoid of talent. And Tate Crowder, you have no reason to talk on social media about being freed. You have been horrible when you've gotten your opportunities. You played solid some games, but for the most part, you're a reserve linebacker. Stop talking. The inside linebacker position is a void. Jalen Smith is more of a reserve player. Michael McFadden, I don't think he's a starter. I think he's a reserve player too. The loss of Darian Beavers is starting to weigh a lot more on this Giants team than people would have thought. They really could have used a guy like Darian Beavers. And whatever it is, besides the wide receiver position, in my opinion, the three biggest needs on this football team going into 2023 is interior offensive line, inside linebacker, and wide receiver. It's not even a question to me. Maybe you could think about outside cornerback if you want to upgrade on Aaron Robinson and Fabian Moreau, opposite of Adoree Jackson, but that to me is fourth on the list. Interior offensive line, inside linebacker, wide receiver. The three most important positions this team needs to fix. Not even a question. Like I said, the cornerbacks weren't terrible. But how do you have the football, going back to the offense, because that's the real story of the whole thing, and Mike Kafka, you better start calling some better plays when they matter, and start being aggressive when you need to be, and stop being over-aggressive and calling cute plays out there when you don't need to. Giants had the ball 3 times at the Commanders' 45-yard line. And what did they do? They went backwards. Backwards. John Feliciano, you might have had a nice PFF grade, but I don't care. PFF grade don't mean anything in the end. Your stupid taunting play, whether you like the rule or not, there was no need to do that, and it set us back when we were just getting the football up by 7 down near the red zone. That's the first time. Then Jones got sacked and we had to punt. Second time, in near the red zone, fourth and 3, we decided to punt the football. When we went backwards again. And then the most egregious one, 3rd down and 2, all you have to do is pick up essentially a couple of yards, move the chains, and you can have an opportunity at a better field goal. What do? You run a stupid wide receiver screen to Richie James where he collides with Saquon Barkley and we end up losing. We end up getting no yards. And that left Graham Gano to kick a 58-yard field goal. I'm sorry. I said the dude's automatic. Most of the time, I still have faith in my kicker. I don't care. It's a 58-yard field goal. It's a tough field goal to make, and it was online. It just came up a little bit short. But then again, how the hell does this team not move the football a lot more? Seriously? You're on the damn 45-yard line of the Commanders 3 times and you can't go forward? You get stopped 3 times at their 45 and you go backwards? Sure, I'm happy. It's better to have a tie than it is a loss. But does it really feel like a win? Now we have to go against Philadelphia with how they've been playing, and they blitzed the Titans by 35-17 last week. They're playing against us. Now we play good against Philly. Even on our worst teams, and they have their good teams, we still play well against Philly, so that gives me a little confidence. But at the same time, if this offense can't get it going, if they can't stop being cute, and this offense can't step it up, how the hell are we beating the Eagles? Old school football and keeping the ball away from Jalen Hurts and that Eagles offense has got to be the game plan going into this game on Sunday. Running the ball, stopping the run, pass rush, time of possession. Those 4 things have got to be the keys for the Giants. Let me say it again. Run the football, stop the run, pass rush, time of possession. Giants have got to win those 4 things. And turnover-free football, if you want to throw that as a 5th. Do not commit any stupid turnovers and limit the penalties. Play a clean bill of football. We've all said that. This was a very, very difficult tie for the New York Giants. It feels like a loss. The players felt like it was a loss. And now we have to go up against the Eagles when we have trouble scoring 20 points, and the Eagles are one of the better offenses in football. Here comes Jalen Hurts, here comes Miles Sanders, here comes Devontae Smith, here comes A.J. Brown, and here comes the Philadelphia Eagles. Very good offensive line and very good defensive line and pass rush. And our old friend James Bradbury in the secondary, along with Darius Slay. Can we win this game against the Eagles? Yes. Do I think we're going to win this game? Right now I have my doubts. But you never know. It's football. Something positive could happen and we couldn't end up winning. But right now my confidence is very shaken. I hope to be wrong. But this Giants performance last week was pathetic. And a tie. Because we had numerous opportunities to win this game. And the Giants' whole team should be taking out the pass rush. The pass rushers out for dinner. They should be treating those guys. Kayvon Thibodeau, Azeez Ojulari, Leonard Williams, Dexter Lawrence, O'Shane Ximines, Jahad Ward, even Justin Ellis. Those 7 guys saved the Giants from a loss. Thank you, pass rush. Thank you for stepping up. Because you saved us from losing this game and dropping to 7-5 on the season. Do better. Do a better job in time and control of the offense. Run the football when you need to. Stop deviating away from the run. Jones and Barkley each had about 60 yards rushing in the first half. Where were they in the second half? The Giants decided to pass the football more when they didn't need to. Kafka got cute again. And Brian Daboll even talked about in his press conference, take it as you will, that we were out-coached, play calling was an issue, etc. Not saying contextually saying that play calling was an issue, but Kafka, you got to do a better job of your play calling. And I'm not going to be afraid to criticize this coaching staff. Brian Daboll, Mike Kafka, Wink Martindale, they had arguably one of the worst coaching games against the Washington Commanders. And like I said, you could thank the pass rush on why this was even a tie. Let's see how the Giants can do against the Eagles. It's not going to be easy. And then we have a date with Washington at FedEx Field. The game has been flexed to Sunday Night Football. So Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, the Giants are going to be right back at it at prime time. Let's see how this team does. That's my Giant Blue recap for today on the Giants and the Commanders. A couple of days late, but I figured I just had to get my mind wrapped around this game. If you guys like this video, hit the like button below. Sub up if you haven't already to NYGJeffyT85 for more breaking news, updates, chatter, and game recaps surrounding the New York Giants. Turn on the bell for notifications on the next video or short surrounding the New York Giants. And you guys let me know in the comment section how you feel about this game, or just the Giants in general, after this tie that they had against the Washington Commanders, and how you feel about them going into this game against the Philadelphia Eagles Sunday at MetLife Stadium. Before we have to travel to FedEx Field, before we have to travel to Minnesota, and then we have to play against the Colts, and we finish our season at Lincoln Financial Field in Week 18 against the Eagles. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. Take it easy, and let's go, New York Football Giants. Together, Blue, everyone.